Hey, we're painting a piece of furniture today, so stick around and we'll go through all the steps. So anyway, technology and I are just like, anyway, so yeah, just keep in mind that you want to take your time. You want to paint indoors rather than outdoors. When you're painting in the garage, you're dealing with either heat or moisture in the air or all sorts of variations. And this is not harmful to breathe indoors. So it's just throw down an old sheet or a tarp and get some good light and have at it. And what I recommend is you put a coat on in the morning, another coat of paint in the afternoon. Give your piece as much time as you can between coats. Give your piece, the paint, plenty of time to dry. That'll help you out. And before I start, the other thing is that you have to keep in mind is the drying time with paint. No matter if it's Sherwin-Williams or Fusion Mineral Paint, all paint takes about 4 weeks to completely cure. And so be really gentle with that piece of furniture. Don't start, putting lamps and knickknacks on the top of your dresser until it's really had a good chance to dry. So, all right. One of the most important things to do when painting a piece of furniture, is to clean it really well. Now, the top of this little table has been cleaned very well, and come on in. And so I'm going to clean the rest of it. And Fusion has a wonderful, great cleaner. It's called TSP Alternative, a very fancy name, but it's organic. It's not harmful to your skin, but it's great at cleaning. And when I'm cleaning a piece of furniture, I always use like a white rag because I want to see when all of the dirt is off. And it's amazing whether it's from a thrift store or your own home, how much, whether it's cooking oils or little Bobby's dirty hands or whatever, your furniture is going to need a good cleaning. And it's really important because paint does not stick to dirt or oil, especially oil, okay? And back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, a good housewife was not a good housewife unless she used Pledge on her furniture every week. So we need to get that oily stuff off, okay? So I've got a little teeny bucket of warm water, and I'm just gonna go over it. And did I put TSP in here? I'm gonna make sure I did. It's very concentrated. We just put a couple capfuls in a quart of water, and that will do everything you need. So, all right, TSP Alternative. And so yeah, cleaning is really critical. I've already cleaned the top of the piece, but I'm gonna just do a once over on the legs.
Do you strip something that has already been painted? Cabinets.
Oh, there's no need to strip painted cabinets. You just need to clean them well.
Okay.
If they've got a bad paint job and you've got chip paint and that kind of thing, you do need to take care of that so it's a smooth surface you're painting. But you don't need to strip cabinets.
Okay.
Anytime you can avoid stripping, oh gosh, it's the worst. Now, yeah, you want to avoid stripping if you can. You also notice I've got little blocks under my table, and that's because I want to elevate my piece of furniture so that I'm not painting the tarp or whatever it is underneath. I can get around the bottom of my piece real easily. And so this piece isn't as dirty as some that I've seen, but I am getting a good fair amount of muck off. And
so that cleaner is non-toxic. You
Right.
don't have to worry about fumes or hands or anything.
you can't even smell it.
Okay.
But I'm gonna get the front here. Also, I take the drawers out. I take the hardware off the drawers. you can paint hardware, just in case you didn't know. Hardware can be expensive, and so if you can avoid extra expense by either cleaning it really well, polishing it, or painting it. And then my buddies at Amazon have a nice selection of hardware too. I try not, they're going to be the death of all of us. Trust me. You know, it's 20 years from now, there's going to be no retail shops. It'll just be Amazon trucks. So, alrighty. Don't you love this weather today? It's supposed to be like 90 later this week, but I'm going to live it up. It's only supposed to be 70 today. I'm going, oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, so I think I've got it nice and clean, and I'm going to set this aside. I usually save the top of my piece for last. That's where I want it to be extra beautiful, and I want to really do a nice job on the top. I want to do a nice job everywhere, but I'm most concerned about the surface. So next up on the subjects of painting furniture is brushes. And I think that having a fine bristle, come on in, don't worry. Having a fine bristled brush with this paint, Fusion Mineral Paint, is very helpful. My theory on brushes is the finer the bristle, the finer the brush stroke, okay? Back when we carried chalk paint, if ever you followed Annie Sloan, who's one of the heroes of furniture painting, she's quite a legend, but she used natural bristle brushes when she paints, and she likes, with chalk paint, which is a heavier paint, she likes to have the brush strokes because they catch the wax and they give a piece a more old and aged look and more depth with wax. But today, at least we all have preferences on painting furniture. I'm not one to distress furniture usually, but with Fusion Mineral Paint, it's an acrylic, it's a very hard paint, and it's self-leveling. It's just, you'll see how it goes on. But this is my favorite brush. And we have brushes from Europe that are 3 times as expensive. In fact, we just restocked what I call my Maserati brush. And you too can have one of these, and it's only $59.99.
Wow.
But
wait, there's more.
yes, it does a beautiful job. But for most of us, this fan-shaped brush from Zebra, we've got other shapes, but this is just, you'll get your favorite once you start painting a little bit. This is $11.99, and it's just, I find it to be a wonderful brush.
How do you clean them?
You clean it with soap and water. Warm.
And then the next use is just as good as the first, or?
Yeah, if you clean them well.
Okay.
You can, this is extra insurance. It gets into the brush. I don't sell them. I used to. Nobody bought them, so I stopped carrying them. But I think one of these that I have is our old dog comb. That whatever you've got that will get into, make sure you work into the middle of the bristles and get the stuff that collects in down here. Otherwise, it'll just harden over time, and So if you take good care of it, it'll last you for quite a while. And we do have a brush cleaner that's made from, what is it, linseed oil. It's $15.99. It's also an excellent product, but it's Fusion's brush cleaner. But if you want to go the economy route, just some Dawn detergent and warm water and just a real good cleaning will do the trick. Okay, so what's next on my list? Before you leave, I've got a little overview of what all the steps are, so you can grab one of those. And we've authored this beautiful brochure on furniture painting. It's pretty simple, so if you'd like one of those, you're welcome to one of those. Now I always dampen my bristles with some water, and I find that it just accepts the paint a little bit more easily. And today I'm going to use a color infusions line called Chesler, and it's like a navy blue, but it has some green in it. It's just a beautiful color, and so that's what we're going to use today. And I'm going to take my paint and I'm going to shake it up really well for a little bit. Make sure that all the pigments are mixed.
That's a pretty color. I like that.
Yeah, it's really pretty. So, now, I think what I'm going to do is move the table back because I would like to be able to be on. You don't have to do anything. Don't worry, I've got it handled.
On wheels.
You're on wheels.
Yeah, my dear husband, I call him Mr. Wonderful. He made these tables for me,
That is awesome.
and we're having in October is our 11th anniversary, and so this was one of the first pieces he made, and he's just been such a wonderful help all these years. So we're going to start with the legs and work our way down, and I'm just going to get the paint into my bristles. You always want to, it's a two-handed sport. You need to wipe off the excess out of your brush. You don't want to go onto your piece with a lot of paint. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a sloppy paint job and drips, puddles. You'll see more brush strokes, etc. So wipe off that excess paint. And I'm just going to, this is not ideal working backwards. So I'm going to have a couple of people with my back to them.
That's really a pretty color.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to buy that one.
And, you know, as a thank you for being here, we give you a 10% discount. I think we give you on anything in the shop when you come to one of our workshops. And
Can you use that after today if you've attended the class?
no, just today only.
Okay.
So you didn't dilute it at all on this project?
No. Sorry for my back.
It's okay.
Are you gonna do the tabletop same color, Barbara?
I am. Yeah. Normally I stick to doing the legs, so I'm going to go back to that plan. And
So do you normally put it in a bottle like that and shake it?
well, these are what we use here professionally. You know, they're easy to dispense. You can buy them on Amazon, and if you do a lot of painting, I think they're great. Otherwise, you can just work out of the bottle. The pint bottles are a little tricky in that when you close them back up, they are hard to take the lid off of, and so we recommend that you put a piece of cellophane, saran wrap, something like that, over the lid before you put the top on. That way it'll be easier to come off.
What would that bottle be under on Amazon? Like what section?
Oh, gosh, that's a good question. What did I find them under? I just recently got a few more. It would be like paint dispensing bottle, squeeze bottle, something like that. Now, see, I'm. The other thing that you want to do is you don't want to linger and continue brushing over the same area over and over, because the minute this paint goes on your piece of furniture, it's starting to dry. And when you're painting, putting your paintbrush through drying paint, you're going to end up with more brush strokes. So we're putting 2 coats of paint on this little guy, and so the first coat is not going to be perfect. You use your brush to kind of get into a little hard to hit areas. But don't stress about it. The first coat is never beautiful. You just want to walk around your piece of furniture that you're working on and look at it from every angle. And as I said before, have good lighting. Put your glasses on.
Just asking.
Now you put water on your brush when you start it. Do you have to put more water on your brush as you go?
If it's I do sometimes if I feel like my paintbrush is dragging and maybe it's drying out on me, I'll add a little bit more water.
To the paintbrush itself.
Yeah. And you can use this paint as a wash if you want, but that's another subject. I've used this paint to paint brick, and I've added water to it just so that I had some weird colored red brick up at Tahoe, and I just went over it with a cream color in a wash, and it just made the brick color more attractive. And you don't have to prime it or anything. You just add water to your paint, and you don't have to seal it or anything because brick is very porous. But a lot of people are updating their fireplaces, their mantles with this paint, and it really looks nice.
Miss Barbara,
Uh-huh.
excuse me. Would you, for the new beginners, regarding the strokes, the brush strokes, would you say something about the, like, you know?
Well, okay, the thing about a beginner, there's several things that I just mentioned, I believe, but that are...
I'm so sorry, I'm tardy.
No problem. I have to, sometimes I don't repeat myself like I should. Anyway, the things you want to avoid is having too much paint on your brush to have a sloppy finish, and to keep brushing over and over the same area to try and make it perfect. Just apply the paint, try and get coverage everywhere, and then move on, because you're coming back for a second coat. And new painters quite often will want that first coat of paint to be perfect, and they'll keep, just going back over it, and it just is going to give you more brush strokes because the paint is already drying. It dries quickly, so which is another reason why we never paint outdoors in warm weather. But so yeah, go onto your piece of furniture with just simple strokes, not too much paint on your brush, and don't overwork your paint by over brushing.
And this is just paint, this is not like diluted paint.
This is just, yes, it's not diluted.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure. And use a brush with a real fine bristle. I also
The
mentioned,
zebra brush.
it's a really good brush for this
And
paint.
the Maserati brush is called what?
Excuse me?
The top notch, that other brush that you showed.
Oh, the Mercedes brush?
Oh, yeah.
Maserati.
Oh, that one, that's from a company called Stahlmeister. It's a European brush. And yeah, Stahlmeister is the brand.
Yeah, I know you don't want to paint in really warm weather if you're outside. What
Yeah.
about how cold can you go?
Oh, that's a good question. But again, I don't want you painting outdoors. Just forget it. Take it out of your, just don't even go there.
I'm glad you said that because I just moved my dresser into my bedroom. I said, okay, should have put it on the linoleum.
Yeah,
Hardfloor instead
Yeah.
of carpet, but
but you always want to put something under your
Yeah.
project anyway. But just find, every home has a place that nobody ever goes. At least in my house, we have several rooms like that. And, even the entryway, I like to sometimes paint there. But you just need good lighting. And so, okay, I think I'm sure I've probably missed something that you can all see, but oops, I got a little something there. Okay, so I'm gonna work on the base now, and I try and go with the grain. I follow the wood grain, and I'm gonna go underneath the lip of the tabletop. I'm not gonna worry about underneath here, on the lower part of the tabletop. I joke that if people can see what's under here, they have fallen on the floor. And maybe they've had too much to drink, but yeah. So I'm going with the grain, you know, nice simple strokes, wiping off my brush in between dips into the paint.
Mm-hmm. I like that idea of putting it in a bottle.
Yeah,
I thought that idea was putting the saran wrap on the jar too made sense.
yeah. Otherwise, you know, we're putting the jar under hot water. If you don't use the saran wrap, you can put it under hot water, and
Use a block.
yeah, I got blockhead here. At least this way I can see a little better. Okay. What's that?
What wrap? I didn't get that. The wrap?
She had just had the blocks. There were 2 blocks on this
She has
side.
it
That's
sitting
it.
on, yeah, on the wall.
She was just trying to fix it so it's even.
Yeah. I want to be able to see everything, and so I'm just turning the piece rather than putting my back to you.
No, before that they talked about, you guys were saying something about wrapping the paint.
Oh, if you got the pint lid,
Uh-huh.
it'll stick and be hard to open unless you put cellophane over it.
After you-
That's
after
why
you-
they use the bottles, so.
After you open the jar and you've used some paint, put a piece of plastic wrap over the lid and then put the lid on. I mean, not over the lid, over the jar.
Okay.
And then put-
got it.
And that makes it easier to take the lid off.
Hot water, run it under.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
Is
We
that
forget
a
what we
pint,
talk about, 'cause I'm old.
is that the pint you're using for that area, or is it a quart
This,
for that area? Are you using the pint or the bigger?
the biggest it comes in is a pint. That's the
Okay,
biggest
okay.
size. Yeah, and it
It won't
goes.
take a pint to do
No,
that.
this I could probably have done this little table in maybe a tester, possibly 2, but it won't be taking a lot of paint.
Goes a long way.
Yeah.
So now, do you leave the paint in that bottle that you transferred it to?
Yeah, and it's surprising that it seals up and stays. It doesn't dry out. It has a pretty good seal on it,
That's
And-
awesome.
and quite often you'll get a little dried up piece of paint in that little crevice here, the little whatever you call it, and so you'll want to get that out before you dispense the paint, or else you'll see this little dried up thing of paint.
If you're doing a cabinet in the bathroom and you have toothpaste going down, can you wipe it and it'll clean? Cause
If you have toothpaste going down
going
your,
down the cabinet in a bathroom.
From
Is
doing
that, can you wipe this and clean it?
Once it's
yes, you can,
Okay,
but just use a damp, warm rag. Don't
Okay.
put chemicals on it.
okay.
Okay,
just water.
and tell people to be neat.
Spit in the
No
sink.
toothpaste.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, good questions.
And do we refrigerate the remainder paint or just?
No,
room
but don't
temperature?
just put it like in your laundry room or pantry. Don't put it out in your garage because it gets so hot in your garage. Don't put it anywhere outdoors. It's gonna really, it will dry it out. But yeah, I don't ever put it in the refrigerator. I mean, imagine you could, but I don't.
Light strokes, huh? Your hand is.
Yeah.
You make it seem so easy.
Well,
is.
it is.
It is.
It is.
Last time I shopped and got so many paints from here and brushes, and I didn't, I used started a project and then I kind of just
Well-
abandoned the project.
Well, what problems did you run into?
Nothing, I was just,
Lost interest?
Were you afraid to start it?
no, lazy.
That's truthful, I like that.
One has to be honest with oneself, otherwise.
You
Yeah.
want it
That
to
way.
be done quickly.
It's not about others,
That's
it's
what
about
I'm like.
Exactly.
Yeah,
being
yeah.
responsible to
Instant
abandon the
results.
project.
Right, right. A lot of us want, you know,
I get that way too.
Because I love antiquing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, you know, the thing is, you can learn. And
yeah,
so many good things available, easier.
yeah,
But you have to have the patience.
yeah.
And the time.
Yeah, the time I have, the patience. I think I need to be.
Work on that.
Yeah.
Oh, we all do.
This is good. Like if there's a group, then
It'll get you
be
a
honest. That
Yeah,
way,
get you
Yeah.
a
you're accountable to yourself.
Sure. And you know, it's like any endeavor. You've got to give yourself time to learn, and you can't start out driving the Grand Prix with, you know, on your first time and winning. It's learning, and
Yeah.
it's practice.
You're right. I got too ambitious and.
And I tell people, start with one project.
one small.
Don't, you know, you're going to go home and you're going to be working on a project, and I promise you're going to be saying, oh, I've got to do this, and this, and this. And just stop that nonsense, because you won't get anything done if you try and take on too much.
I was younger. I
Yeah,
did the
yeah.
whole house.
I shouldn't be handling this while it's drying. It's pulling the paint off. Okay, so,
And on clothes and hands, like just wash with warm water and
and soap, yeah. We have these are called scrubby sponges, and they have soap, bars of soap in them. I'm out of them right now, but I have to reorder them. But they're really good for getting it off. It's called a scrubby, and
sponges.
it comes in lemon and lime and yada yada. But anyway, that's really good. But yeah, I just use Dawn detergent, and if you're smart, you'd put, you know, those blue gloves on. But and if it gets on your clothes, get it off immediately, because it's really hard to get out of your clothes once you have paint on them. The other day, Darlene was, she's at the shop here. She's one of our shop sisters, and she dropped a jar of blue paint on the floor, and it was on her shoes, it was on, of course, the floor, it was on her jeans, it was everywhere. So she was scrambling, but you know, one time it was red paint. Another person dropped a jar of red paint. So it does happen, but just be, you know, be careful. You don't want to drop a jar of paint.
Underwear and bra.
Yeah, that's the best way to paint.
Right.
Make them old pair. But then you gotta scrub off your skin. So
What
maybe not.
about terracotta? Will this
Get some
cover
old
terracotta?
outfit.
Oh,
Wear it
yeah.
that way.
Yeah. We've done,
Designated paint outfit.
somebody asked if this is good for terracotta, and it is. It's great. And we have a class that we've done over the years where we paint a terracotta pot, and we embellish it with either an Iron Orchid Design transfer or a mold. And yeah, it's,
Yeah.
and we paint it usually like a cream color, but you can paint it any color. So
Let's you get in line.
yeah, let me see if I can turn this over without. Yeah, there you go. There's the terracotta pot.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, Cheryl did that, and we're,
How did she get the staining look and,
That's the next class.
yeah, like you just take, sponge it in, like to make it look stained in the grooves that are sticking out?
oh, it's just a process, you know, you've used different colors of paint.
I like that look. kind of gives it,
It's a class that we're doing. It's full.
oh, is it coming up?
Yeah, it's full.
It's full already?
It's full.
Yeah.
That's
If
what
you're-
I'm like.
If you're on our website,
Yeah.
I write a weekly newsletter,
Okay,
and we are always talking about
The next
upcoming
class.
classes.
yeah.
And
What if somebody doesn't show up and if we try to come and,
Usually, do they?
you can be on a waiting list, but it's not probably going to work if you just show up and hope for the best.
Because you pay for it ahead of time.
You pay for it when you sign up.
Yeah.
When you sign up.
some are free but some are paid, I saw the website. So we can't pay right here when we are here.
You can, yes.
And now like, it's like seeing somebody's underwear, I can see you said we don't paint the bottom, like, not bottom, but
It is
Inside, she
underneath.
will.
Underneath the
Yeah.
cap.
underneath.
But it's
Nobody
up high
sees it.
right now.
No, so should we paint it if we want?
You can paint
Anything you
anything.
want.
You can paint the ceiling if you want. Yeah, certainly. You know, and this is always a little challenging when I'm doing this kind of thing because
Wow.
I can't see everything. So here is, we're at the beautiful top here that we want to do a really nice job on. And I always do the edges first because I don't want, when I'm painting over the top, I don't want to then go around the edge and screw up my paint on the surface. Does that make sense? So,
How do you keep it from dripping over the edge when you're doing the
remember, we're going to keep very little paint on our brush.
Wipe off.
We're going to wipe the paintbrush after we dip it so that if we don't have too much paint, that shouldn't happen. I mean, there's always, shit happens, you know, but if
especially when you're a beginner.
yeah, but if you take your time and just keep reminding yourself about following the different steps of wiping off your excess paint, you'll be fine. And
Is there a universal paint remover? Like if I don't like my project that I did halfway and I want to remove, I use acrylic pens. And I know, like I know what I did wrong. I started with a very intricate project, fine drawing, designing, too much like a ceramic elephant which has the, you know, like
Lots
the
of
Asian,
colors.
lots of colors,
Yeah.
lots of design, intricate patterns. And then I got tired. I did one side and then I was like,
you can paint over it, sure. Just clean it
Paint over
first.
it.
Yeah.
like what should I use to like scrub off? I want to like,
Sand it?
You don't have to take the paint off to paint over it.
oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Okay, so before I do the top, I'm going to do this little drawer. And whenever I do a drawer, I want to use some painter's tape. And I want to tape off the sides so that I have a nice clean edge. When I open up the drawer, I don't want it to look like a mess. So I do that. Sometimes I'll do the inside, but today I probably won't do that. Yeah, you wanna do some nice little things to so that, you know, after the project's done, you stand back and you go, hey, I'm proud of that. And you want it to be a nice, neat paint job. And I see people decoupaging the inside of their drawers, you know, and doing pretty things like that. I haven't had a chance, but it looks like they spilled some clear nail polish or something inside here. But that can come off. But yeah, you want to have a nice paint job. And remember, this is just our first coat.
hours after you had it all painted and all done, how long do you have to wait for it to dry?
Yeah, I would wait, you know, we do that in classes, but it's ideally wait till the next day to put transfers on. Does everybody know what transfers are?
No.
Like decals?
Yeah, they're like a decal, but they're, you know, a little bit fancier than a decal because they're very thin and you can't even feel them once they're applied. They're some of them are just beautiful. Like on that picture up, the peace sign up there, those are transfers. The flowers are all transfers.
Pretty.
Okay, so
Make sure I'm not missing anything.
I'm gonna, and before you let your piece go, look for drips. Look for, especially when you have raised edges, it's a great place for paint to pool up, okay? And sometimes I'll use an art brush if I've got a hard place to get into, or I don't wanna muck up the rest of the surface. Just paint, little art brushes are helpful.
Man, why are we using the tape again?
To have a clean edge, so I don't have paint, a messy paint. I have a nice, clean, straight line when I take the tape off.
So you're not gonna paint the sides?
No.
Okay.
And again, people use the Iron Orchid Design stamps, or they do fun things. I mean,
Nobody sees it.
Just how much work do you wanna do?
yeah. If you are selling furniture, it helps to, you know, embellish it a little bit wherever you can, but you have to look at the time you're putting into your project for the, you know, what you're gonna get back. So I'm gonna put a little bit more paint in my cup, and here I'm going to
Now, the top is white, isn't it?
it's got primer on it.
That's, okay.
Yeah, and we had to do some filling, and we use you can use any kind of spackling paste or wood filler, but you want to add the filler, and then you want to sand it so it's smooth, so you can't tell that there's any filler put in. And so I'm gonna spritz my brush again.
Why primer?
Huh?
Why the primer we have to do?
Oh, because we had to do some pretty good repairs on the top. Yeah.
But otherwise this paint just can go on
Yeah.
anything, like one.
You don't, if you've got a nice surface, you don't have to prime it. If you are going over, if you are painting, say you've got a dark piece of furniture or a dark stained piece of furniture or dark cabinets, and you want to brighten them up with a white, and this is attractive, with a white paint, it's always a good idea to use a primer. That'll save you a coat of paint or two. All right, so I have,
Is the primer a mineral paint also?
no, Fusion doesn't make a primer.
So you could just go to Lowe's or Home Depot, get a
Yeah,
white
Ace Hardware, any place like that.
Yeah.
Have any of you painted a piece of furniture yet?
Yes, but with the old chalk paint.
Uh-huh,
And milk paint for me.
uh-huh.
Did like a arm wall thing. Always go big.
Was it
so-
the milk paint in the can?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this was years ago back in New England.
uh-huh.
I was there.
Milk paint, the true milk paint is a powdered product, and it's been around for hundreds of years. And you reconstitute it with water. And when we first opened here, we carried the powdered milk paint, and we kind of stopped carrying it because people, I think, were intimidated with the mixing process. But it's really kind of a neat product. Okay, so I've got a coat of paint on the top, and I'm gonna go around the side and make sure I haven't got anything going over the edge of the top. And it's really easy when you're doing the top of a table to want to make to keep going over it and over it and, oh, I gotta make it perfect. But remember, the paint is already drying. So we're not gonna do that. We're going to resist that urge and let it dry. Now, in a perfect world, I would walk away from this project and come back after this afternoon and go on to the second coat. But this isn't a perfect world. We are doing everything kind of in warp speed. So I'm gonna leave it upright. I've already got some good coverage on the base.
But in the perfect world, how many hours gap would you give?
Oh, in a perfect world, a couple, 3 hours.
And don't paint an elephant that takes longer.
What's that?
I was just making a joke with her. I said, don't paint an elephant this time, and that takes longer.
Oh,
No,
right.
I started with like very detailed, like, you know,
That's a lot
how
of
you
work.
do the,
They're
you
beautiful.
do the henna,
They're
like
beautiful,
it takes
yes,
time, like
yes.
it takes hours and hours.
Hours and hours. No wonder you quit.
Yeah.
I should have started with
There
something
you
like
go.
this, like should
And
have
then later.
had the common sense to like start not so ambitious, you know.
Well, you know, we all screw up and we all
That's
learn in the process. And I've painted some pieces of furniture a couple times just because, you know, it didn't turn out right, or I didn't like the color or whatever. And that brings up another thing that I want to cover with you, and that is bleed through. And bleed through is a problem, and it's really common with mahogany. Mahogany is that red, deep red colored furniture, but old mahogany, I've had a lot of bleed through issues. And bleed through is, if you haven't ever seen it happen, it is when you have painted a surface and the paint has dried and you see little, it looks like oil spots, okay? It looks like, you know, oil spots, and it's just bleed through. And when I was new to painting, I just thought, if I put another coat of paint on, it's gonna cover that up. No, if you see bleed through, you have to stop, go get some primer, and go over the bleed spots with primer. Just cover the whole surface again with primer, and that will block the bleed through.
Is it because the wood is still like exuding out some oil or something?
It must be. I don't know what causes it exactly.
Some kind of woods, they tend to do that.
I understand Cheryl used to work at an antique business years ago, and she was involved in updating the furniture, and she did stripping and all sorts of things. And she said that teak is the worst for bleed through. It's
Well, it's the worst for not accepting anything else on it. It just won't
It
take.
rebels.
You can't, I mean, you can try painting it, you have to put something else over the wood to get it to accept paint.
So if you primed it with primer, it might.
But I don't have
If
any
you use
teak.
something like Zinsser makes a primer that will stop bleed through and antique, that, you know, you can, it really will.
What are they called again?
The brand name is Zinsser,
it's
and it's a clear primer.
oh, clear, great. It's Zinzer. And I like going to places like Ace Hardware because they, you know, it's not this big box store that you get lost in, and you'll get some really good one-on-one professional help usually. But yeah,
That is a pretty color.
isn't that pretty?
I wish I bought that instead of the other one that I haven't used yet.
Well, you can, if you haven't used it yet, you can bring it back this coming week if it hasn't, and just exchange it.
Oh, wonderful.
We have a two-week return policy. We fudge it a little bit, but
And you're putting the same amount of paint on your second coat,
yeah.
so you don't use it.
And, yeah. And you're going over it with the same color, so you have to kind of do it in a, what do you call it, you have to have a system so that you're not missing areas on the second coat, because it's hard to see sometimes where you've been and where you haven't been. So you have to kind of do it in an orderly fashion.
Sounds great. You can't see any more strokes on the second coat, which is great.
I know.
Good paint.
And you turn your brush, when you turn your brush, you can get into the recessed areas and then flatten it out when, you just keep adjusting the angle of the direction of your brush to get it where you want it to be. We have customers that just love the furniture painting process, and they're retired, and they're either painting and donating their work, or they're painting and giving their work to their kids, or they're selling it. And it's a great pastime, but you've got to learn what you're doing. And there's all sorts of videos on YouTube. Fusion has a YouTube page, and I've also noticed that when you watch videos, you'll see that there's all sorts of what I may say to do, others may contradict. Little do they know what they're talking about, but everybody's got their own system, and once you get started and have some experience, you'll have your own system that works for you. There's no one perfect way. My goal this coming year is to learn how to use a paint sprayer, and my husband has done a fair amount of spraying. It's a special sprayer that you use. It's called an HVLP, which means high velocity, low pressure. And instead of what the house painters use, which the paint with the painters that are painting houses, their spray goes wide, whereas the HVLP spray is very directed in a small area. And
How much does the gadget cost?
they're all over the place. It depends on how much money you want to spend, but you can spend $200 or $300, or probably $2,000 or $3,000. I don't know.
And AC hardware.
Pardon?
Look for those in AC hardware.
No, I don't think they carry them. I go online and do some research. But right now, you need to learn how to paint with a brush, okay?
You're gonna go for it again, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, we all
gonna
do.
make
That's
this
how
project.
I don't mind. I'm learning. I thank you for the feedback.
We all do.
Yeah, that's how I think we should all learn is with a brush. And not just
Would
you.
you be attempting to paint furniture with this kind of paint with H?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, you
At
can.
your level, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, you can use a paint sprayer with Fusion.
Okay.
And many people say that you have to add a little bit of water to it. And I'm not sure if I've done this side. See, this is what I'm talking about. I think maybe I have. But I haven't.
This leg is.
This front leg on the back, actually back leg and.
Oh, yeah,
a little tiny bit
Okay.
inside.
So do you ever sand afterwards?
Some people do. I usually don't, unless I have a drip or a problem. This paint really dries very smooth, and
And the front one too.
it just depends on how anal you are and how much time you've got on your hands.
What about putting a wax on it or sealing it at all?
Yes, I'll do that. You know, Fusion says that there's a built-in sealer in their paint, and it's got a moisture barrier in it. And, you know, that's probably very true. But when I'm painting a piece of furniture, I want some extra insurance. So I put a sealer on it, at least on the top of the table, if there's a tabletop. Because you know, you put a lot of work into your project, and you don't want to have it drop their bowl of cereal on there, dripping milk, and sitting for a day, and then coming back and having your paint job.
Now, if you wanted to do transfers, would you still use a sealer?
Yes, I would put a sealer over the transfer. Not, you don't have to put it over the paint first. You put it over the transfer as your last step.
And is there a Fusion sealer or?
Yes, there sure is. It's called Tough Coat,
Okay.
and I like the matte finish. And the matte finish, the properties that make it matte, which is just a creamy or a nice little glow to the surface, the matte properties are at the bottom of the jar. So you turn it upside down, and you never want to shake a polyacrylic, no matter what the brand, or else you'll end up with bubbles on your surface. And yeah,
Sneak behind you.
Sure. Sure.
You're all good.
So
What polyacrylic in the sense?
this is polyacrylic.
Don't shake it.
Don't ever shake it,
Just turn it upside down.
and let it mix that way. And for maybe 15 or 20 minutes, you can roll it.
Why am I using it?
It's a sealant. It,
At the end, okay.
you know, it'll protect the paint. She was talking about toothpaste going down your bathroom cabinets. You can wipe that off with a warm rag. Don't use chemicals on your furniture, but the Tough Coat will protect the painted surface.
Tough Coat is the polyacrylic sealer.
So now I'm ready to come back and put another coat on
This
the,
leg right here.
which one?
On this angle.
Come around this way, you'll be able to see it.
Okay, thank you. Oh, yeah.
We wanted it to look like the other three.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be real nice.
This paint we don't need necessarily to seal, right?
Yes, but on the tabletops, I recommend it for sure. Okay, anybody see anything else that I've missed? Sometimes, believe it or not, it would probably be helpful here. I put on one of those headlights, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and they really help you get into the hard to see areas.
My husband has offered me his. But I need more light.
Yeah, yeah. You look ridiculous, but it's okay.
It works.
Yeah. Okay, so we're coming into the,
When you're shaking that, do you put your finger over it so it doesn't come out?
yes, you sure do.
Okay, I was wondering, because I
Yeah.
can see you unlock it.
Yeah, we have had students in furniture painting class where they haven't done that, and you'll have some flying paint.
And this can link for furniture painting classes is here?
It's on our website, and then we have a handout we can give you. Right now, we're coming into the third quarter, which is the holiday season, and I don't think we have another furniture painting class till next year. We're going to be doing a number of holiday projects and gift kind of projects, things that you can make to give to friends that are very nice. And all of our classes are on display on that rack right there, the bookshelf.
Give her this.
Any questions right now?
Yeah,
Yeah, please, thank you.
Okay, we're about ready to.
my question is, this is matte finish, but if I like glossy,
We do have a gloss finish.
so but just by the paint with
The tough coat with the tough coat with. If you want a glossy finish, glossy finishes are a little tricky, but we do have it. You just have to be extra careful not to overwork your product, because it will show brush strokes.
oh, okay. Start with this
Start with the matte product.
matte product.
Yeah. So remember, when you're doing your tabletop, we're almost done here. I don't know. I think I'm going to wait to put I'm going to wait to put a sealer on this. But when I'm doing the tabletop, I always do the side first. That way, I won't damage the tabletop surface with going around. You know what I mean?
Do you use the same type of brush when you do the sealer?
Yeah, you can use the same brush.
Just
And
have to clean it, right?
you think?
Well, you know, you got green on it.
Yeah.
You're sealing green. It's like, do you really have to clean it?
And just take your time on that final coat. Just take it slow and get nice coverage. And yeah.
That's so much cuter than what you started with.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, in my home at Tahoe, I've got lots of painted furniture, and we were able to decorate that place really inexpensively because, you know, we got so many thrift store finds. But especially when young couples are starting out, or we want to update our look. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll do this one first, I've already got it in, and I put the 10% on.
But when you clean your brushes and your containers, it's okay to put it down in the drain?
Yeah. It's water-based, it's not oil-based.
Well, works for me. Okay, so there's that one.
What does Iron Orchid design mean?
Oh, it's just a line of decorative products for crafting and furniture design.
Like that
Yeah, that's Iron Orchid
how
design.
you transfer that on a furniture.
Right. And we've got a back hall here with some other examples of their products, and yeah. So
That is so pretty.
I know, I like it.
now I'm gonna, before I wash this, it's gonna be a few minutes before I wash my brush. So I'm gonna put my brush in a baggie and I'm gonna seal it. That way it won't dry out. You'll ruin your brush if it dries out with paint on it. So you don't want that to happen.
Will you repeat that
Why
for
wouldn't
my
she
young
just-
girl, my teenager, who without asking borrows my brushes and does her artwork? and then brushes don't drop from heaven, you know.
Could you just put them in water? Why wouldn't you put a brush in water?
Huh?
Why wouldn't you put
Oh,
it in water if you're
You
gonna?
know, I can do that too, but maybe if I'm gonna come back and paint some more, I
Then
can.
you just put it in the baggie, you don't have to worry about doing it, and you can leave it like that between coats? That's a good idea.
Enough, or
It depends on what you're covering. If I was using white paint over a dark surface, I may need 3 coats, but typically 2 coats are enough.
or this kind of shade like this.
Yeah.
Yes, please. And then you have that little. Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
It's my favorite, so.
It's the blue one, this is the
Great.
They come the same stuff.
Great taste.
And this
Oh, excuse
iron
me.
orchid thing, is it very difficult to do?
I'm having a demo at 1 o'clock if you wanna come back, but it's really, I don't think it's difficult. Most of the line here.
Is that color in here?
You know,
I don't
this
think
is a
it
brand new color,
Okay.
and it's called Chesler.
I really like
I'm working is kind of what got me involved in this. It's
I read my dresser today, but I don't think, I wanna put the other thing on it now.
It's like how we have the stamps like a little bit, water and exactly.
Alright, and they're really beautiful. I was here a couple weeks ago.
Here's one for you. I thought that they were all the same, but I was, yeah, you got it.
Yeah, can I? Oh, you gave me one.
Uh-huh. Let me see if we've got any more of those. Bobo?
Yes, that.
This is our workshop schedule, by the way.
I don't like the baby angel, you know, like what are these called, Shira?
Yeah. See, this is a
1163. Yes,
So,
you know, we're talking about
when I did the vintage window, I used that one, and there
Oh,
was
no, I
one
already
up
stood
in
there
the
once. And even